Oh my God, guys. What did we just watch? I think we just saw one of the greatest NBA games in NBA history and definitely the best comeback in NBA playoff history. What an amazing game. Can't wait to talk about it. Welcome in, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you enjoyed the NBA Finals Game 4 as much as I did. So today, I'm just going to give my take and reaction to the amazing and historic NBA Finals Game 4, just what I thought of all the action, of all the drama, and what I think is going to happen going forward. So we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. Before we jump into that, I would like to mention that on my YouTube channel, I create content about money, sports, and personal topics with the goal of bringing value to other people's lives. So if you guys find value in this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. Also, hit that like button and make some comments on your reaction to NBA Finals Game 4. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. Historic game last night in Game 4 of the NBA Finals in New York City. I think it was one of the best NBA games that I've ever seen. So the New York Knicks defeated the San Antonio Spurs 107 to 106 in Game 4 of the 2026 NBA Finals, pulling off the largest comeback in NBA Finals history after trailing by 29 points. So let's just give a little game summary. So this was a big game for both teams. Going into it, the Knicks were up 2-1, and it was kind of a swing game, in my opinion. I felt like whoever wins this game is most likely going to win the NBA Finals because if the New York Knicks win the game, they go up 3-1, and it would just be very difficult for the Spurs to come back and have to win all three of the remaining games. On the other side, must win game as well for the San Antonio Spurs, in my opinion, because they don't want to go down 3-1. And if they win the game, they tie the series up 2-2. And with the three games remaining, with two of them being in San Antonio, I think the Spurs would have a really good chance of winning the NBA Finals. So, in my opinion, this was a must win game really for both teams. It was like a swing game where whichever team wins the game, the probability of winning the finals increases significantly. So, huge things on the line in this game. And both teams definitely played really well at different points in the game. So the Spurs had a first half avalanche. San Antonio completely dominated the opening 24 minutes, surging to a 21-point first quarter lead and setting an NBA Finals record with 14 made three pointers in a single half. They built a peak lead of 29 points early in the third quarter, 81 to 52, and went into halftime up 76-49, the third largest halftime lead in NBA Finals history. So, I mean, in the first half, the Spurs just looked amazing. they just looked unbeatable. Everything was clicking for them. They couldn't miss a shot. And the New York Knicks were just struggling to get their offense going. And it was just really total domination by the Spurs in the first half. And I was really, really impressed with them in the first half. We get to the second half, the Knicks suffocating resurgence. New York flipped the script entirely in the second half by ramping up their defensive pressure. They held San Antonio to a miserable 30-point total second half points on 8 of 39 shooting from the field. So the Spurs score 76 points in the first half, and they only score 30 points in the second half. So a huge, huge change for the Spurs from the first half to the second half. And it's just amazing how an NBA game can change from one half to the next. So for the Knicks, Jose Alvarado was a huge spark off the bench. He provided crucial fourth quarter energy. He hits some 3-pointers, and he had some nice layups as well. So Alvarado was huge in this game. And towards the end of the game, Jalen Brunson hit a clutch lefty floater with a minute 22 remaining to give the Knicks their first lead of the night at 105 to 104. Stephon Castle responds with 2 free throws to put the Spurs back up 106-105. The Knicks had one last possession. Brunson launched a deep 3-point attempt that missed, but one of the best plays you ever see. OG Anunoby flies in untouched to execute a miraculous tip-in with 1.2 seconds remaining. And the Spurs still had the ball with that 1.2 seconds left, but they couldn't get a shot off. And the New York Knicks survive, and OG Anunoby gets a win for the New York Knicks. So honestly, just craziness in the game. Just watching the first half, I'm rooting for the New York Knicks in this series, and just watching the first half, it was just hard to watch. I had to turn off the TV a couple times just because I thought that the Knicks had no chance. They looked very bad in the first half, and I just didn't think it was possible at all for them to come back. And then in the second half, the third quarter was still, dominated by the Spurs to begin the quarter. But then just slowly and surely, the Knicks started to chip away. And before you know it, the lead was only 15 going into the fourth quarter. And with that, in today's NBA, that's definitely a lead that can evaporate very quickly. And just each minute by minute in the fourth quarter, the Knicks got closer and closer. They brought it down to 12, 9, 10. And before you know it, it was a single digit lead for the Spurs. And somehow the Knicks get the win. Just a crazy, crazy game. I couldn't believe what I saw. Even at the very end, the Spurs could have won the game very easily. So just an emotional roller coaster watching the game for sure. But that's why we watch the NBA. That's why we watch the NBA Finals. It's for moments like this where history is made, where things look impossible and they become possible, where heroes like OG Anunoby play amazing and probably win the NBA Finals for the Knicks. So just craziness. Um, so just some team statistics. So the Spurs, they shot 42% from the field. The Knicks 46. 3-pointers, 39.5% for the Spurs, 47 for the Knicks. For the Spurs, Wemby had 24 points, 13 rebounds. So he was really good in the first half. I mean, he looked unstoppable. He was just getting whatever he wanted, um, playing really good defense. But as the game went on, getting to the second half, he got tired. He's just not conditioned to play this many minutes and this far into the NBA season at this point in his career. And his second half was definitely a big disappointment. And he did not have a very good game at all in the second half. So that's usually how he plays. He plays really good in the first quarter, in the first half, and then he just kind of winds down in the second half. So Dylan Harper, 21 points. He played really well. He was getting to the hoop very easily. And I don't know how he gets to the hoop so easily. He just backs people down. He's a small player, and he just somehow uses his body really well, backs people down, and gets layups all day long. And I was really impressed by his game. Devin Vassell, 18 points. De'Aaron Fox, 18 points. Castle with 13 points. So the other guys contributed as well for the Spurs. But I think De'Aaron Fox made some mistakes towards the end of the game. He had a turnover where he was passing it, I think, to Stephon Castle, who wasn't looking, and the ball just goes out of bounds. So that was a really bad play by him. Um, Towards the end of the game, the Spurs are up by one. He gets the ball, and instead of just dribbling it out and wasting some time, he goes for a layup, but it's blocked by OG Anunoby. So that wasn't the smartest play because OG Anunoby gets the ball back, and then what happens at the end of the game happens there. So a couple of huge mistakes by De'Aaron Fox in this game. So big difference from the first half and the second half for the Spurs. Um, I don't know how that could happen to play so well in the first half and to have such a bad game in the second half, but it happened. For the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson had a really good game, 36 points. He went 12 for 25 from the field, so that's pretty good. OG Anunoby, 33 points. He went 7 for 9 from the 3-point line. So he was definitely the MVP in this game. Karl Anthony Towns, 13 points. So not the best game, but he made some big buckets when they needed him. Jose Alvarado, I mentioned, had a huge game, 8 points off the bench. Josh Hart played some really good defense on Stephon Castle. So in this game, Mike Brown, the head coach for the Knicks, he played a lot of different guys. He needed to switch some things up in his lineup. He gave some minutes to Jeremy Sohan. Um, I mentioned Jose Alvarado got some good minutes as well. So A lot of different guys played for the Knicks in this game that usually don't play. They needed to try something new, and it worked. I really liked the Jalen Brunson and Jose Alvarado playing together in the backfield. I think that released a lot of pressure from Jalen Brunson, and Alvarado brought a lot of quickness to the game. And I just really liked the two of them playing together and getting good minutes together. What else is there to say about the NBA Finals and this game? So, as far as Finals MVP so far, initially for the Knicks, it was a race between Jalen Brunson and Carl Anthony Towns. But I think Carl Anthony Towns has fallen out of that contest with his last two performances since they weren't the best. OG Ananobi definitely had a huge game in game four, and he's been very consistent in the series. So I think for the Knicks, if they win the finals, it's either going to be Jalen Brunson or OG Ananobi. I think Jalen Brunson probably has a healthy lead right now just because he's put up big points in each of the games. But OG Ananobi did win game four for the Knicks, and probably the most important game of the series, swing game, in my opinion. So he definitely deserves it, but we'll see who ends up being MVP if the Knicks do win the series. I think for the Spurs, it would be Wemby just because he's played the best and he's the best player for the Spurs. So we'll see what happens. So we have game five on Saturday. The series shifts back to San Antonio. So for these last three games, game five will be in San Antonio, game six in New York, game seven in San Antonio. So we'll see if the Spurs can bounce back from this horrible collapse in game four and make things even more interesting. So I think the Spurs still have a chance. Um, they're down 3-1. They win game five, which I think there's a good chance they do. Take the series to 3-2, and you never know what happens in the last two games. So the Spurs are definitely still alive. The Knicks are heavy favorites. So going into game five, honestly, it's hard to predict this series. It's been very volatile and hard to predict. The games have been at the end very close, even though the teams have had big leads at certain points. So, I mean, I think if I had to pick, I think the Spurs win game five in San Antonio. They're going to have 2 full days of rest for Wemby. So I think Spurs win game five and get the series to 3-2. And then in game six in New York City, I mean, the Knicks have to close it out in game six. They don't want to go to game seven back to San Antonio. So that's kind of how I see things playing out. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks win in game five in San Antonio. But if it goes to game six, I expect the Knicks to win. Um, but the Knicks do not want to go to game seven in San Antonio. So we still have a lot of intrigue and excitement left in this series. It is not over. The Spurs have a chance. And with Wemby on their side, um, it's definitely possible. So we'll see what happens in game five. I expect the Spurs to win. I'm going to be rooting for the Knicks. If not, the Knicks better win in game six. If not, they're going to be in big trouble in game seven. So can't wait for the next game, and we'll see what happens. All right, guys, that's all I wanted to share as far as my reaction to NBA Finals Game 4. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video and got some value out of the content. If you did, again, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. Hit that like button and make some comments on your reaction to Game 4 and what you think is going to happen the rest of the series. See you guys next time and take care.